You know that moment when nothing is happening around you, but everything is happening in your head? You're washing dishes, trying to sleep, staring out a window, and suddenly your mind opens a secret tab. Now you're in a future conversation, or a perfect relationship, or a disaster scene where you finally know exactly what to say. Maybe you're proving someone wrong. Maybe you're becoming wildly successful in front of people who doubted you. Maybe you are replaying something tiny that happened years ago like it was the final scene of a movie. And the strange part is, sometimes those fake scenarios feel more intense than real life. Your heart reacts, your face changes, you get embarrassed, angry, hopeful, comforted, all because of something that never actually happened. If that sounds like you, you are not weird. You are not childish. Your brain is doing something very human. It is simulating. That's one of the brain's favorite jobs. Before you act, speak, risk, confess, confront, or fail, your mind likes to run a preview. It pulls pieces from memory, emotion, fear, desire, and imagination, then edits them into a scene. Almost like your brain is a tiny director making dramatic trailers for futures that may never exist. And honestly, that can be useful. Imagining future situations can help people prepare. Research on episodic future thinking suggests that the mind often builds possible futures by recombining pieces of past experience. So your brain is not creating these scenes out of nowhere. It is remixing your life into what-if stories. That is why the scenarios feel so personal. They are made from your own emotional material. The fight you imagine with your boss may be built from every time you felt dismissed. The romantic scene may be built from loneliness and the part of you that wants to feel chosen. The disaster scene may be your brain trying to prepare for uncertainty by rehearsing control. So when people say, stop overthinking, that usually misses the point. Because for many people, fake scenarios are not random noise. They are emotional problem solving. Not always effective problem solving, but still an attempt. Your mind is trying to protect you, rehearse for danger, complete unfinished conversations, and give shape to feelings that are too messy to hold as plain words. And images hit differently than words. When you picture something vividly, your brain can react to it almost as if it carries a slice of reality. That is one reason imagined arguments can leave you genuinely angry, and imagined rejection can leave you feeling genuinely hurt. You did not just think the scenario, you experienced part of it, which explains a lot, right? It explains why you can be in a bad mood because of a conversation that never happened, why you can feel attached to a version of a person you barely know, why you can feel relieved after winning an imaginary argument and then feel silly for caring. So much. A lot of people think fake scenarios are only about fantasy, but very often they are about control. Real life is unscripted. People interrupt, they misunderstand you, they don't clap at the right moment, they don't ask the question that would let you say the perfect answer. And the mind hates loose ends, so it creates a space where you finally get to finish the sentence, where you finally get to be understood, where you finally get to say the clever thing, the brave thing, the honest thing, where the other person finally reacts the way you wanted them to react. For someone who often feels overlooked or powerless, that private world can feel like relief. And to be fair, sometimes it is relief, but relief and freedom are not always the same thing, because a habit can begin as a coping tool and slowly turn into a hiding place. At first, the scenario helps you process your feelings. Then it helps you avoid a difficult moment. Then it becomes a difficult moment. Now, instead of having the conversation, you keep rehearsing it. Instead of applying for the opportunity, you imagine succeeding at it. Instead of grieving what did not happen, you keep editing it until it hurts in a prettier way. That is a trap. Your imagination can become so emotionally rewarding that reality starts to feel underwritten. Real life is slower, less cinematic, less flattering, less controllable. In your head, the timing is perfect. In real life, people pause, ramble, disappoint, and leave. There is also a sneaky emotional cost. Sometimes you do not just use scenarios to comfort yourself, you use them to confirm beliefs about yourself. You imagine people rejecting you before they do. You imagine embarrassing outcomes before you try. You imagine being abandoned, ignored, laughed at, replaced, and your brain tells itself this is preparation. But sometimes it is prediction dressed up as protection. That distinction matters because preparation moves you closer to life. Avoidance keeps you emotionally busy while physically still. One says, let me get ready. The other says, let me stay here until it feels safe enough to never begin. And if you do this a lot, you probably know the aftertaste. That strange emotional crash after a long imaginary sequence. You come back to your room, your desk, the bus, the bed, and there is this tiny drop in your stomach because nothing around you changed. The movie ended. The text still has not been sent. The person still does not know. Your real life is still waiting for you to participate in it. So, what do you do with a brain like this? Not by declaring war on your imagination. That usually fails. You do it by becoming more honest about what the scenario is doing for you. When a fake scenario starts, ask, what is this giving me right now? Comfort, control, revenge, closure, hope, a feeling of being admired, a feeling of being safe? Because once you know the function, the scenario gets less mysterious. If the fantasy is giving you comfort, there may be an unmet emotional need under it. If it is giving you control, something in real life may feel too uncertain. If it is giving you a chance to finally speak, there may be something you genuinely need to express. If it is giving you proof that everyone will reject you, anxiety may have taken the director's chair. That is a moment to interrupt the autopilot. Not with shame, with curiosity. You can even turn the scenario into information. Write one sentence about it. Not the whole movie, just the core. I keep imagining telling them how hurt I was. I keep imagining becoming successful so people regret underestimating me. I keep imagining disaster because I don't trust things to stay okay. That one sentence often reveals the real theme faster than 20 minutes of mental cinema. And then ask the most important question. Does this imagined scene help me move or does it help me hide? Because imagination is amazing when it becomes a bridge. It is dangerous when it becomes a substitute. A bridge says, I imagined it and now I can take one real step. A substitute says, I imagined it so I get the feeling without taking the risk. And human beings love borrowed feelings. Borrowed closure, borrowed confidence, borrowed romance, borrowed victory. The problem is borrowed feelings expire fast. Real actions last longer. This does not mean you need to become a robot who never drifts off. The goal is not to kill imagination. The goal is to stop letting it quietly replace participation. Because the same mind that invents fake scenarios is often a very sensitive mind, a pattern-seeking mind, a creative mind, a mind that notices hidden meanings, future possibilities, social risk, emotional danger. That kind of mind is not weak. It is powerful. It just needs direction. And direction usually starts small. Come back to your body, unclench your jaw, relax your shoulders, feel the chair under you. Put your feet on the floor, look at one object in the room and name it. Then ask, what is one real thing I can do from here? Not 10 things. 1, send the text, open the document, drink water, take the walk, write the sentence, start the assignment, leave the fantasy version of the conversation and have the imperfect real one. Because your life does not change when the imaginary version goes well. It changes when the real version begins. Some of you imagine fake scenarios because real life has been disappointing. Some of you do it because reality has been lonely. Some because you were not heard enough. Some because you learned that if you do not mentally prepare for everything, life catches you off guard. Some because your inner world became the only place where your feelings got full screen time. So no, I am not going to mock you for it. A lot of people do this. Quietly, constantly, expertly. But be careful not to spend your whole life being deeply moved by trailers for experiences you never let yourself have. Be careful not to become emotionally loyal to worlds that only exist because reality once failed you. Be careful not to confuse mental rehearsal with living. You do not need a perfect script to enter your own life. You do not need to predict every possible reaction. You do not need closure from every past version of you before taking your next step. Sometimes growth looks less like I stopped imagining and more like I noticed I was imagining, understood why, and chose reality anyway. That is strength, not the absence of fantasy, the ability to return. So the next time you catch yourself halfway through an imaginary speech, an imaginary relationship, an imaginary revenge scene, or an imaginary tragedy where everyone finally sees how much you've been carrying, pause for 1 second and ask, what am I trying to feel here that I'm not letting myself build in real life? And if this video felt uncomfortably accurate, you're definitely not alone. Tell me in the comments, what kind of fake scenarios do you catch yourself imagining the most? Argument-winning ones, romance ones, success ones, disaster ones, or the painfully specific I should have said this 3 years ago kind? And if you want more videos like this, stay close.